All right, guys, let's kick it off. Let's get it, man. Right after that big show tonight, a lot went down. I thought I was gonna be late for the show, but I think I made it just on time. I think I scheduled for 10:15 today. A lot went down, like I said. So without further ado, guys, I'm your host, Jake Randy. You're listening to the World of Wrestling show, and let's talk WWE Monday Night Raw. Let's see what happened here. There's an error right here. Let's say watch this video on YouTube. Blah 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 blah. Playback on other. Is there something going on with the live stream? Let me see. Hold on, guys. Maybe nothing's going on. Maybe it's just my computer showing me. Yeah, okay, we're live. All right, mistake by me, guys. But let's jump right into it, guys. This is live. You know, things go wrong like that all the time. So, without further ado, let's jump into the Raw review. Alright, guys, what's up? Let's jump into it, man. There was a lot tonight, so I think we're going to be here a while. Thank you for anyone ahead of time who's going to tune into the show. Like I said, tonight of Monday Night Raw, it was a lot that went down, a lot of good things, some things that I might disagree on. I wanted to start off today's show by saying, first of all, I'm going to try to stop fidgeting with the mic because I've noticed in some of the playbacks that I can hear the motions I make with the mic. So, like I said, I'm still getting used to the live stream, guys. I just started recently. Trying to get used to being live. You know, I'm so used to being a creator who's does videos and then edits them in the post. But the only way to get used to it, man, is to keep going at it and keep trying every day. So let's jump into the Raw review, guys. I got my notes right here, and like I said, tonight was a crazy night. We kicked off the show with Kurt Angle, who came out and he talked about he's excited for his match coming up with his tag team partner Ronda Rousey. He even went on to say that he's gonna feel sorry for what Ronda Rousey's gonna do to Stephanie McMahon come WrestleMania. Yeah, you know, Kurt came out and you know, this segment was really more about Roman Reigns because I think, you know, that was just Kurt's or their way of having the show start off kind of slowly, but eventually, you know, it was obvious that the real like impression that they wanted here was for Roman Reigns, his storyline to go forward, because well, without a couple of minutes going by, you know, next thing you know, we saw Roman Reigns come out. But the reason he came out was because Kurt Angle dropped the news that Brock Lesnar did not show up again for Monday Night Raw. So this is looking more and more obvious. You know, the first week they did this, it was questionable. It went big on social media. There was talk about, was Roman Reigns' segment a shoot or was it a work? And there was people arguing back and forth on the internet, and it's becoming more obvious that, you know, it's a work, or maybe it was a shoot in the beginning, but it does seem like it was a work the whole time, and that became clearer tonight when we saw Roman Reigns come out, and he became angry with Kurt Angle, who was saying that Brock Lesnar didn't show up tonight, even though he was, you know, booked to be there, which he probably actually wasn't. This is just a storyline. You know, this is their way of trying to get Roman Reigns over. We've seen the WWE do this plenty of times in the past where they pull out a lot of stops for Roman Reigns, man. You know, Roman Reigns is their future talent in their eyes, so they're really trying to hit home with Roman as the next, you know, Cena or the next Rock or the next Hogan. So they're giving him a huge push, and we're seeing more and more of that. You know, tonight we saw Vince get involved, man. They kind of did that whole kayfabe, you know, angle where they had Roman Reigns get upset at Kurt, and he told him, you know, Brock doesn't care about anyone. He doesn't care about the fans. Kind of a repetitive talk about what he said on his shoot promo that week, or that work promo a couple weeks back, or last week I think it was. And so he goes on to talk about Brock not having respect for anyone, including the fans, including all the talent backstage. And then he goes on to say, but you know whose fault this really is? This is Vince McMahon's fault. And he calls Brock Lesnar Vince's boy. So kind of funny coming from Roman because, you know, all the marks and the smarks call Roman Vince's boy because, you know, it seems a lot of the times Vince is the one giving Roman the push. And we saw kind of a weird vice versa tonight with that because Roman goes backstage and he says Vince is the problem. He goes to Gorilla, and they rarely film Gorilla, man. So this is what I'm talking about, how they're pulling out these crazy angles for Roman Reigns. Shows you that he's really in their minds in the writing room when they're writing what's going to happen on Raw. They're pulling a lot of stops out for him to get him over with the fans. But we see Roman go backstage and approach Vince, just like on this image that's on the screen. And he gets in Vince's face. And funny thing to point out is, you know, Shane McMahon's in the backstage right there. Kevin Owens actually tweeted something funny about this, saying that, you know, they were SmackDown's on a live tour right now, or a live event show, and Shane McMahon's not there. Instead, he's with his father on Monday Night Raw, the competitive brand. Crap, I hit the mic. The competitive brand. So they you know, it's funny they would even have Shane back there. You'd think they put him aside or something. But maybe that's a part of the storyline, actually. Maybe that's why they had Kevin Owens tweet that out. So that would be good if we see that on SmackDown Live. They kind of point that out, how Shane was there with Vince during that segment. They can do something with that, I'm sure, with the whole Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn angle. But yeah, we see Shane and Vince there. Roman approaches him and tells Vince, "I gotta talk to you. You know, is this what you?" I forgot the exact words. I don't think I have them written down on my notes. But basically, he's just pissed off at him. He says he will not be disrespected by Vince. You know, he goes backstage. He says, "Let's talk." Vince says, "Let's talk about this in my office," and he tells, you know, the people backstage, "Go to commercial break. Go to commercial break." So kind of adding some kayfabe in there. You know, like this is a shoot again. You know, kind of a setup work as looked at as a shoot, and so they go to commercial break, and he tells Roman, "Let's go to his office." They go sort of leave. Roman follows them. They go to commercial break. Then we come back from commercial break and we see Vince McMahon, or we see Roman come out of Vince McMahon's office first. And Renee Young tries to get some questions out of him, some answers out of him, but he doesn't respond. He just kind of walks off, sort of angry. Then out comes Vince McMahon, and he's the one that takes the interview by Renee Young, and he tells her that, yes, Brock Lesnar is more privileged than others. So again, there's heat thrown on Brock. You know, they're trying to get the fans to really hate this Brock Lesnar going into Mania, as it looks like Brock Lesnar may not sign with the company again come WrestleMania. So they're really trying to add in that realism into it so that the fans can get on Roman's side, you know, so they can cheer Roman, who's supposed to be the face in this, yet Roman doesn't really get that many cheers. So, you know, at least I'm sure that they're getting a lot of the casuals on Roman's side. I thought to myself earlier tonight, I think I even tweeted this out on the TWOW Twitter account, where I was mentioning how I believe, man, I know there's going to be a lot of heat from fans for this segment, and I'm sure there was. I didn't really have that much time to pay attention to any of the social media stuff online, but I feel like this segment we just have to accept as those hardcore wrestling fans as a segment where it's more for the casual fans, you know? I mean, I know a lot of hardcore wrestling fans won't accept that, and in this community, there's a lot of people that will argue about it, and they'll kind of, this community is known, man, for casuals and marks and smarks, or whatever you want to call it, all these different fans going at it on social media, some defending Roman Reigns, saying, you know, Roman's the next big thing, and they like what Roman does, and that marks and marks look too much into it and whatnot. And then you got you know, the Smarks and Marks going at the casuals, telling them, you know, they're stupid. They don't see things clearly. They don't see what's actually going on backstage. They don't see the political side of WWE. And then the casuals are kind of there, like, you know, we don't care about the backstage stuff. We're here just to be entertained. So this is what the community is all about. And, you know, I want to point this out, guys. As a person who's reviewing the show and the host of this show, I want to point out that sometimes I'll say things on the show And it's right after Monday Night Raw. So if I say something you disagree on or something, just know that it's right after the show. I haven't got down to exactly settle down and think about everything that went down tonight. So I may say something that tomorrow I just may think to myself, why did I say that? I don't agree with that anymore. I don't know what I was talking about. Um, so that's one thing. But another thing, guys, is I noticed in this wrestling community, and there's plenty of talk shows. I'm not gonna try to take fire at any talk shows or name anyone specifically, but there's a lot of these talk shows where I feel like they aim for sort of, it's like they try to find the negative stuff in WWE, and and I know there is a lot of negative things in WWE, and I'm not one to agree with WWE and them doing what they do at all times. I'm not one to say everything they do is positive and good and try to jump on the WWE bandwagon as a casual fan or anything. But all I'm saying is I just feel like in this community there's a lot of people that look for the negatives, because in today's world of the wrestling community, it seems like that's where people are interested in talking about, is just a negative stuff. They like to jump on it because it's easy to talk about. It's easy to say WWE sucks. It's easy to say Roman Reigns sucks. Let's bash Roman Reigns. Let's bash the WWE backstage. Let's bash the poor writing. And again, I'm not trying to be biased on either side. So I'm just trying to give the review of what happened down on Monday Night Raw. I want to give my opinion every once in a while, but I'm not going to try to jump on either side, of a certain, or I'm not going to try to let people's their own opinions affect my own opinions, because I feel like a lot of people do that. They don't know what to feel about Monday Night Raw, or they don't know what to feel about a certain match that went on. So they sort of have this idea that they have to listen to someone else's opinion, whether it be on social media or another talk show, and whatever they think is what they're gonna think, because they're smart, they know wrestling, and I agree with them. Guys, I don't want you guys to agree with me. I want you guys to give me your honest opinion. If you liked Monday Night Raw and it was a sucky show to some people, to many people, then don't be afraid to share your opinions. I just kind of wanted to go on that rant because I was thinking about it as I was getting prepared for the show tonight. But let's get back into it. Like I said, this Roman Reigns thing is gonna have a lot of people talking. I feel like this feud is mostly for the casuals, or the people that don't overthink things too much. Because I know for a lot of people, I'm sure they were overthinking this, thinking, "Wow, Roman Reigns is really getting the push," And in my opinion, he is. If you know anything about wrestling in the backstage a little bit, it does look like Roman Reigns is getting the extra shove in the booking so that he can be in the eyes of the wrestling fan as the face of the WWE in the future. But like that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's more for the casuals, this feud. So I'm not gonna be here and complain exactly all about it and say Roman sucks, all that stuff about it. But let's move on and let's see what else do we have. Oh, and another thing I didn't mention, Vince, during that interview he had with Renee Young, after Roman Reigns had left out of his office angry, Vince mentions that Brock is more privileged than others, and that Roman Reigns has temporarily been suspended. So this was kind of interesting. I was curious if, with the whole drug allegation thing that had been going around lately with Roman Reigns, I was curious, like, is this WWE's way of suspending him? Actually, is he actually like suspended, and maybe this is his punishment, but they're kind of writing it a part of the script? Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. So I thought that was kind of interesting. He was temporarily suspended. Could be just another way, like I said, they're trying to get Roman Reigns over. So, they're making him look like in the eyes of WWE as the face, as in the eyes of the fans as the face. So then we move on to a match between Sonya Deville with Absolution, and she takes on Sasha Banks with Bayley, sort of, and you'll see why. Because Sasha gets the win with the Banks statement in a very short match. Then Bayley suddenly walks out and sort of like looks upset that Sasha won the match. I'm not exactly sure. Some odd ending that I'm sure that's going to lead to the storyline they're having in the future. Then we see Absolution get on the apron in their like shield-like fashion, where they're all three kind of surrounding the ring. The interesting thing about that was, like, you kind of know, for the fans that know that Paige has been put to the side and can't compete physically, um, you kind of knew Paige wouldn't do anything. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, well, if she's on the apron, I mean, is she actually gonna get in the ring and actually try to like kick Sasha Banks down, or are they gonna beat her up with Paige? But they didn't. Eventually the two, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, went in there and attacked Sasha Banks after the match, after Sasha had won, and they just started beating down on her. And Paige kind of just instructed them what to do. I think they even mentioned that on commentary, where Michael Cole was stating that Paige is she's instructing them to beat down Sasha Banks, and this is, I guess, a moment leading to the Sasha and Bayley angle. Again, like I said, I'm not sure if this is leading to Sasha versus Bayley at WrestleMania, or Sasha and Bayley teaming up against Absolution at WrestleMania, because what are they gonna do with Absolution? Maybe Absolution just joins the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, which was announced today. I'm not sure how many of you caught that, but they did a Fabulous Moolah tribute, and then that led to the announcement of the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royale for the women. So I'm not sure if I think the Andre the Giant's still happening. They just haven't mentioned too much about it, or at least I didn't catch that tonight. Um, yeah, they beat down Sasha. Absolution beats down Sasha. Like I said, it's kind of hinting that Bayley didn't help out Sasha. She left her, and that's going to be an issue. Is that going to lead to Bayley versus Sasha at Mania? Is that going to lead to Bayley and Sasha somehow trying to team up against each other? I don't know. Out of those options, which would you prefer? What do you mean, Gundam? I'm confused by what you mean by that. Out of those options, which would you prefer? Oh, are you talking about between Bayley versus Sasha, and then Bayley and Sasha versus Absolution, or maybe I'm a little bit ahead and you're talking about something else? Let me know what you're talking about, and I'll get right back to you. We also saw, what else? You know what? I'll wait for Gundam, just because I don't want to get to the next match. I don't want to get too ahead. See what he was talking about. But yeah, so I don't know what they're gonna do for them at Mania. Bayley versus Sasha or I don't know. I feel like Bayley and Sasha is kind of the match to go with. Bayley versus Sasha. I think it's been a while since. It's been a while since that they've been hyping this heel turn that Sasha was gonna do. I'm not sure if it's too late, if the fans are still gonna agree with it. But I wouldn't mind seeing Bayley versus Sasha. Because it's a little weird, for them to have this sort of heat between each other, and then they're just gonna set them up to be a tag team, and then they're gonna work against Absolution come WrestleMania. But like I've said in the past, if they did go that route, then I guess they could do maybe a heel turn. We've seen a couple of heel turns at Mania, where maybe Sasha finally turns heel on Bayley at WrestleMania when they lose against Absolution. But I think I'd rather prefer Bayley versus Sasha. What would you prefer, man? I want to know what you think. I don't. Yeah, it's kind of a back and forth thing, because either way, Absolution will be at WrestleMania. Even if they're not in this match, they'll be thrown in the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royale. So it's not like a loss for them. It's not like they're gonna be thrown off the card. They're still new to the roster, so they don't exactly need a huge match at WrestleMania, in my opinion. So yeah, then we get The Miz, who welcomes Finn Balor and Seth Rollins onto the Miz TV segment. Miz claims that Seth is awfully comfortable being in the same ring with Finn Balor, who stole their one-on-one match at WrestleMania that was gonna, quote, burn down the house or something like that, burn it down, mocking Seth Rollins' theme song. He says Finn's a young up-and-comer, but it should have been a singles match between Seth and Miz. The Miz is pretty good on the mic. He's throwing a couple of jokes in there. Obviously Finn Balor isn't a young up-and-comer. This guy's been wrestling for such a long time, but I guess he's sort of new to the main roster in WWE in some way compared to the Miz. But it was funny how he threw in a couple of little jokes in there. And so this segment basically broke down into a fight. There's never a Miz TV or a contract signing that ever doesn't ever break into a fight. Gundam, what would you say? I think Bayley versus Sasha, only because when women have singles matches, they tend to be better. Also, it would make more sense in the storyline between the two. I absolutely agree, man. We got a lot in common, man, with our thoughts, because it's true. singles matches between women are better, because how many times have we seen multi-women matches at WrestleMania anyways? It's about time we see more single women matches. And this Mania looks like it's going to be a lot of women matches on the card, which is good. I mean, it's going to help with their women's revolution thing. There's some people that are sick of that. I've heard a lot of people that are upset about the whole women's revolution. They kind of, maybe some people think it's like, feminism taking over or something, but I think it's only right, that they have a couple more women matches, and I guess they're adding more storyline to the matches. I like what they did with Bliss and Nia sort of tonight. It was kind of interesting. So they're adding more story at least, and they're trying harder. Is what hit the mic. They're trying harder on these storylines, which is, in my opinion, a lot better than what they would do back then, and just kind of throw all the women together in some odd match. You remember that year where we saw AJ Lee defend her title against like 10 other women? Like that's an example of bad booking and just throwing all the women in a match so they can have their WrestleMania moment. Terrible. And that was right after the Undertaker's streak was ended by Brock Lesnar, so nobody exactly cared for that match. Where was I? Oh yeah, the Miz TV segment. We saw that go down tonight, and like I said, this eventually broke down into a fight. As always, these segments always kind of end up in some sort of fight or something. We see the Miz sort of be the middle guy in this and sort of get Finn Balor and Seth to sort of argue against each other. Seth eventually tells Miz to shut up and says they're already fired up for Mania, and Finn has no choice because he's gonna lose to Seth. And then Finn Balor responds by saying he's beaten Seth before, and he's beaten him with one arm to win the Universal Championship. So he's going to do it again at Mania for the Intercontinental Championship. So they kind of go back at it. The Miz is just standing there in the middle, being the middle guy, trying to get these two to go at it. Eventually, they realize what the Miz is doing, so they attack the Miz as the Miz tries to escape, and Finn Balor clotheslines Miz outside the ring, and then Seth, I think, super kicked Finn Balor or something. He took him out, and that led to Finn versus Balor, a match that was going to be set up for later in the night, I believe. Yeah, it was going to be set up later in the night. So Miz kind of got what he wanted. The Miz is the middle guy trying to get these two guys to go at it so that they'll be beaten up before WrestleMania or something like that, So the attention isn't so much on the Intercontinental Champion. So then we get to, after that segment, we get to Sheamus and Cesaro, who are scheduled to have a match with the Miz-Taraj, and it's kind of like what they did last week with the Revival. If the Miz-Taraj wins tonight, then they'll get a title match against Cesaro and Sheamus at WrestleMania. But before the match can even start, man, the whole tag team division comes out and starts beating the crap out of Sheamus and Cesaro. A little odd segment, man. And it was funny because on the commentary they were like, "Oh, it's the whole tag team division," and you see, there's only like 4 tag teams that ran out there, or 3, and you look at all the tag teams on the roster, man, and it really shows you how bad they've been booked and really built up lately. And you'll see more of how bad they look tonight in the main event, which I'll get to later. But yeah, so they start beating up on Sheamus and Cesaro, and that leads to Sheamus and Cesaro kind of rolling out of the ring, escaping, and getting out of there in separate directions. Sheamus went to the entrance ramp backstage, and Cesaro went through the crowd to escape. That leads to a segment later, but we come back to that later as the next segment. And sorry if I'm going too fast. I'm trying not to go too fast, but there's a lot to talk about tonight. There was a lot that went down. So this is still like, I think, the first hour, or maybe like going into the second hour of Raw. So yeah, there was definitely a lot tonight. It was a lot of WrestleMania talk. Right after Fastlane, the road to WrestleMania really picked up. Speaking of WrestleMania, John Cena came out to talk about his road to WrestleMania, and it was kind of interesting promo by John. John's great on the mic. He can really perform well. He's a great talker, and he sort of did the Roman Reigns kind of shoot style promo. They're doing this a lot where they're kind of like, they're shoots, but they're kind of works, because you can tell, obviously they wouldn't let them exactly shoot on a live mic. Like, they would probably cut him off. Kind of like the whole CM Punk thing where they cut him off on his pipe bomb. But yeah, these look like works. They seem like it. John Cena went out there and said, obviously recapping what happened at Fastlane, saying that he lost, and kind of started off by saying he doesn't have a road to WrestleMania. And then he says, you know what? I might not go to WrestleMania as a competitor, but I'll go to WrestleMania as a fan, just like each and every one of you. And I will be in the crowd. Who knows? I might be sitting next to you, or you. And then he goes in the crowd, and he comes up to a guy who has a beer in his hand. He calls him, I think, Sasquatch or something, because he had this beard. And I had the image, but I didn't actually put the image on here, I don't think. Surprisingly. I thought I did. But, yeah, anyways, Cena, he has fun with the fans. He goes out there. He has a drink. He drinks the guy's beer. He takes a sip of it. He gets back in the ring, and he says, you know what? I'm going to say what I want to say, and if it's not what I'm told to say, or if it's not what people in the back are going to be happy with, how bad in trouble could I possibly get, So he goes on to say, you know what? I want The Undertaker. I challenge The Undertaker. Again, the crowd pops for that, just like they popped a couple of weeks ago or last week. People, it seems like the fans really do want Cena versus Undertaker, or at least I know a lot of the casual fans do. I know it's a bit of a mixed reaction online. I feel like a lot of people, some are complaining that Undertaker's wrestling in the match, if that's the case. But they had Cena go out there and sort of have it in a shoot style where he says, it's not the people in the back that don't want this match, because if they didn't, they would have cut my mic off right now, and they wouldn't even have let me say that on live television. He said, so the only person who's stopping this match from happening at this year's WrestleMania 34 is The Undertaker himself. And he says it's The Undertaker's ego that's stopping him. It's The Undertaker's words of him saying that he's too old for this, or he says it's The Undertaker's excuses. It's all excuses for The Undertaker. And he says, I challenge The Undertaker. I want The Undertaker. And he basically just called him out, but he didn't like a shoot style way where he mentioned the whole thing we talked about yesterday, where Michelle McCool, Undertaker's wife, had been taking pictures of The Undertaker working out. So again, this is WWE kind of bringing reality. It's like this really is the sort of reality era, as they call it, because they brought it in there's that kayfabe where wrestling is known to be fake, but they try to make it seem like it's real. So they're bringing in a lot of the dirt sheets, man. We saw a lot of that tonight. Cesaro and Sheamus even did it later, but I'll talk about that later. So John, he talks about how Michelle McCool had been taking pictures, but he brought it up in a way where, like, what did he say? He said something like, Undertaker, you've been, you can't accept my challenge to WrestleMania, but you'll be being videotaped working out on your wife's Instagram. And man, the crowd was like, ooh, shots fired, a breaking kayfabe. So a shoot style promo by Cena, man. I kind of like this segment, man, because Cena really gets the crowd engaged. This is a segment where the crowd couldn't help but be engaged, He even joked to the crowd at one point and said, let's go Roman, try to get a Roman chant started. That didn't go well with the fans. He got the fans to cheer, let's go Cena, Cena sucks, but that was before he challenged The Undertaker. But what I'm saying is just, Cena can really get the fans going, and he's really he's an important role in the WWE still. I know he's like making movies and he's doing things like Hollywood and whatnot. He's kind of going that same route that The Rock went. But he still sells out shows, man, and he's still very important to a lot of the fans. A lot of people still boo him, but I think it's become kind of a gimmick of the fans to boo Cena, and it's kind of a fun thing to do. But great promo by Cena, man. We'll see where that goes. Obviously, I believe this is going to Cena versus The Undertaker eventually. Who knows when we see Undertaker though? I'm sure a few weeks before Mania, maybe a week before Mania or 2 weeks before Mania. I think 2 weeks before Mania is like next week though. So either we see Undertaker soon or we see him appear at WrestleMania. But I don't know if they would go that route. You know, I think they really want to build it up, and they'd actually want Undertaker to show up on Raw so they can really sell out WrestleMania. If it's not already sold out, I'm not sure. I don't know the news on that. But interesting, man. Interesting to see that. It was, like I said, tonight was all about WrestleMania, man. Then we get a backstage segment after this. It's between, I believe, do we get a backstage segment, or did I pass Finn versus Seth? No. The backstage segment happened, I think, after this. Yeah. Backstage segment between Cesaro, Sheamus and Cesaro, The Bar, and Kurt Angle. They're seen backstage talking to Kurt Angle, upset, that what just went down. And Kurt says, "You guys deserved it. You called for the tag teams, and you got all the tag teams. They went and attacked you all. They beat you down." Sheamus gets upset and says, "That's not what we meant. We meant that we wanted competition. We wanted someone we haven't defeated before. We've already defeated every single tag team on the roster." He says, "You know what? I've heard rumors that there's a draft coming up, or a superstar shakeup coming up after WrestleMania." He says, "So you know what? Just take us to SmackDown. We've already beaten everyone on Raw. Send us to SmackDown. Trade us to SmackDown." So again, like I said, there's another sort of breaking the whole kayfabe in a way, because WWE hasn't mentioned anything about a superstar shakeup, but the rumors and speculations have been all over the internet about that. Apparently, the WWE shakeup is going to take place at Backlash, which is the next pay-per-view after Mania. So that was kind of interesting to hear and see Sheamus talk about. But Kurt goes on to say, "You know what, guys? I'm not going to get rid of you two. You guys are the two best tag team on the roster. I need you guys here on Raw." And he says, "You know what? Tonight you'll find out your WrestleMania opponents, because I'm going to have a battle royale, a tag team battle royale to decide your WrestleMania opponents." So then that's that segment. We move on and we get Elias in the ring with his guitar. He's out there with the neck brace, kind of like I have on the image. I think that was a segment he had tonight. That background image where he came out there with the neck brace, and I think he began to play the guitar a little bit, but then he just stopped and he said, "This is your guys' fault," intending to the fans being the fault, or the reason that Braun Strowman attacked him last week on Raw and hit him with the big instruments and dropped the piano on him. So he's really selling that injury he took from Braun. He wasn't able to play. He walked out of the ring, and then we see Braun in some sort of backstage phone, those kind of backstage interviews. I'm not a big fan of them. Again, I said I'm not trying to be picky and stuff. I try to very rarely be picky about things, but these backstage phone interview things or segments where they're like on the phone and they have those kind of like, they're cheesy font types where it looks like Arial text or something, and they come up as Braun Strowman kept saying, "I dropped the piano." You see the word piano come up every time he says piano. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that, but something WWE is trying new. But yeah, so we see Braun in a segment like that, or I don't know what you want to call that, a little promo package thing where he's selfie style recording himself. He's a monster among men, but he's recording himself on his phone, talking about how he doesn't have a WrestleMania match, and why don't I have a WrestleMania match? I've destroyed so many people. He's like, "You know what? I'm gonna make my own path to WrestleMania," and he says, "I'm gonna find my WrestleMania opponent." So we don't know what that means. Well, we do find out later tonight, but we'll get into that later. A lot of these segments, I realize as I'm going through this Raw review, were kind of interlaced. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we had sort of a segment happen, like Sheamus and Cesaro, and then we had another segment happen, and then we got back to Sheamus and Cesaro, and then we had another segment happen, and then, they kind of like, they had a segment, and then it went into a different segment, and then it went back to that segment. It's kind of confusing, but I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. Then we see, where am I at? Yeah, okay, Braun had that segment. Then we have Finn versus Seth, and they have a pretty decent match. This was only the second match of the night. So it took me a while to realize this, because a lot of tonight was promos or backstage segments. So this was only the second match of the night between Finn versus Seth. Pretty decent match. They weren't given that much time in the ring. There weren't a lot of time given to the matches tonight. I think a lot of it was just storytelling for WrestleMania, which I think wasn't too bad because WWE has failed for a while to build up stories. And I'm not saying that they need to do this every week where majority of Monday Night Raw is storyline, because they can tell a lot of story in the ring. It's just that, I feel like WWE kind of made up for not building up to WrestleMania so much. And they tend to do this where a few weeks before WrestleMania, they start really trying on the storylines. Now that we're past Fastlane, we're seeing more effort putting into WrestleMania booking. So yeah, we see Finn versus Seth, and Finn gets the win over Seth as Seth Rollins was trying to set up that what's that maneuver called? It's that Falcon Arrow. That's what it's called. It's like a suplex off the top turnbuckle, and then he tries to turn it into another suplex after that. He attempted that. He got the first suplex on Finn Balor off the turnbuckle, but then as he attempted the second suplex, Finn Balor turned it into a quick roll-up. 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor wins. Seth's upset after the match, and you kind of just see Seth walk off angrily. That's just not too big of a thing. Just a quick match, second match of the show. Then we got the tribute for the Fabulous Moolah, like I talked about earlier in the show. We saw a Fabulous Moolah tribute, and then we saw them announce that there's going to be a Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. Now, I don't have the match card, the WrestleMania match card, but from just thinking about it, I think there's a lot of matches on this card, man. I think last year we had like 12 or 14 matches. There was a lot of matches, and that led to WrestleMania matches being a lot of them being shorter than 15 minutes. I think the longest ones were like The Undertaker and Roman, which was said to be a really bad match, and I agree it wasn't that great of a match. There's a lot of botches in that match. But yeah, my point is like this WrestleMania is looking like it's going to be another stacked card where they're gonna have to sacrifice a lot of matches, man. And there's certain matches I don't want to see sacrificed, like Shinsuke versus Styles. I'd hate for that match to only go 10 minutes because they have to sacrifice the time on that match for other matches, such as these Andre the Giant Battle Royale matches and the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royale, and their gimmick matches. But I don't know. I'm just hoping WWE doesn't get too carried away with that and try to take time away from the matches that are bound to be really good. Because I think Styles and Shinsuke has to go on for a good amount of time, man. Because we've known them in the past. They can go on for a while. They have the great chemistry in the ring, and we really want to see them tear the house down, and we know they can. And we're positive they will if they're given the right amount of time. So yeah, that Fabulous Moolah Battle Royale WrestleMania was announced. Then we got an in-ring segment with Asuka in the ring, and she was talking about, or no, she didn't get to talk. That's right, she didn't get to talk. She's interviewed by Charlie Caruso, who asked Asuka about her actions that went down at Fastlane, where she came out and after Charlotte's win and had a stare down with Charlotte, and then looked at the WrestleMania sign, did the cliche point at the sign. But before Asuka could get any words out, we saw Alexa Bliss interrupt her right before Asuka could say anything. And then they came to the ring and joined Asuka in the ring. Alexa Bliss was she went back and forth with Mickey, kind of mocking Asuka. She said that, Asuka can't speak well. I'll speak for Asuka and tell you what happened. And she goes on to say that Asuka's afraid of Bliss and she didn't want to fight a real champion, and that she went to the B show to fight a B champion. This led to Asuka getting upset, and she challenged Alexa Bliss to a match right now and said, I'll take you on right now, in her language barrier way. And Alexa said, in your dreams, sweetheart, and you're gonna fight this woman. And she kind of awkwardly called out someone. I was assuming it would be Nia Jax, but no one came out. So they kind of were just standing there awkwardly. So you're just like wondering what's going on. Then all of a sudden, Alexa pushes Asuka, and then Mickey gives her, what is it? I forget that move's called. She gives her finishing maneuver where she kicks her. I think it's called the chick kick or something like that. I might be wrong, but she lays down Asuka and just sort of leads into a match. We go to commercial break and we come back, and there's a match between Mickey James and Asuka going on. During the match, Asuka sells a leg injury. I say that with quotations because obviously she wasn't actually injured, but she sold it. She sold it pretty well as she tried to kick Mickey James on that side of the apron, I believe, and she ended up hitting that Titantron on the side of where the apron's at. So she sold that injury well throughout the match. But Asuka picks up the win pretty quickly against Mickey James as she put her in her signature submission. That led Bliss to be upset and go to the back. That led to where it kind of got a little interesting, and it started to make more sense why Alexa Bliss had called out somebody, but nobody came out, because it led to Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax being backstage, and this is where Alexa Bliss started off by saying, "Where the hell were you, Nia? You were supposed to be out there when I called you out. You could have got your revenge against Asuka. These were my intentions, were to catch Asuka off guard, and you could have went out there and destroyed her, got your revenge." So and so. She says, "Tough love, but we'll forgive each other and forget it. Just promise me next week when I have a match with Asuka." As it was booked that Alexa Bliss versus Asuka is going to take place next week on Raw. She says, "Promise me, Nia, you'll be there in my corner to defend me if I need it." And Nia Jax gives her a hug. They hug it out, and she says, "All right, I'll be there, but I'm getting ready for my match." So she goes out there and she has her match. Nia Jax has this squash match. There's nothing much to say about it. They had a jobber out there, local talent. Compete against Nia Jax, and yeah, it was a squash match, but it was meant for Nia Jax to be in the ring for this next segment that happened, because after Nia Jax won this match in like under a minute, we have this kind of odd segment where it was just Mickey James and Alexa backstage with this like awkward sort of boom pole just standing right next to them, recording their voice. And, that gives obviously a camera on a tripod in front of them. But they were trying to play it off as they didn't know, because they were set to have an interview with Charlie Caruso. But at the moment, Charlie Caruso wasn't there, so she was running late, I guess. That led to Alexa Bliss and Mickey James sort of having a gossip talk about Nia and Alexa Bliss coming out with the truth, and saying that Nia... They were kind of mocking Nia, saying Alexa was saying she uses Nia and she's gonna use her next week. Mickey was saying, "I can't believe what you told her last week. I almost died laughing when you said that Nia at the airport gets these funny looks." And then Alexa called Nia, like she said something about it's almost like Shrek in an airport or something. So all these insults going towards Nia, and Nia's listening to this in the middle of the ring this whole time, as this is all going down. They sort of show it on the Titantron as she's listening. Alexa Bliss and Mickey James at this point have no idea they're being recorded, or they're on live television. So Charlie Caruso eventually shows up, and she tells them, "Guys, I don't know if you guys know, but you're live on television right now. That you see that boom pole next to you with that that really big huge boom pole next to you with that mic just awkwardly pointing at you. That's actually recording you guys right now, and you're live on television." So they quickly realize the situation they're in, and they book it. They just get out of there as fast as they can. We see Nia sort of angrily march back to backstage, and by the time she gets there, Alexa and Mickey are far out of sight, and Nia Jax destroys everything backstage. Not everything, but she goes on a rampage, kind of throwing things around. She's there like angry, sad, looking for Bliss, yelling, "Where's Bliss? I want Alexa," or something. So this was kind of an interesting segment, man. It kind of reminded me of some old school WWE stuff, where they show like leaked footage backstage. I know they've done this a couple of times in the past, plenty of times in the Attitude Era. Yeah, it was kind of a weird way to have that set up, with the boom pole. Just you can see it in this image right here, where it's just kind of just there. It was kind of weird. I guess they played it off in some way by saying, Charlie Caruso was late to the interview, so that was there for the interview. But it was a little funny. I mean, it's building up to be like Nia versus Bliss, I think, at Mania, with Mickie James probably in Alexa's corner, unless they end up just having Mickie leave Alexa again. We'll see more about that. It was kind of interesting. I thought it was pretty interesting, guys. I thought that was kind of a good build towards it. Like I said, they're giving more attention to the women in their WrestleMania matches, so I like that. It's hard to go against that. Why would you go against that when in the past we've seen WrestleMania bookings be terrible, where they just put a bunch of women together, like I said. So that was a little interesting. We saw that go down. Nia versus Bliss at Mania is looking to happen, while we get Charlotte versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's title at Mania. But next week we do see Asuka. So that answered the question we had yesterday about Asuka being on SmackDown or Raw. Yeah, so we were right, Gundam, about that yesterday, about Asuka looking like she's going to go back and forth until Mania, at least. Maybe after Mania she'll be a full-time SmackDown superstar. I agree, it was kind of silly, but at the same time, it was a successful way of setting up the feud. Yeah, it was a little silly, but yeah, it was successful, and I'm just glad they're giving more attention to the women when it comes to the booking of WrestleMania and their matches. So yeah, it was good. It did remind me of some old school WWE stuff where it kind of, it had that feud type of that old school feel. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I liked it. I'm a supportive fan of that segment. So then we had, man, am I really going through all this that quick? I might have missed something because this doesn't seem right, but I'm already at the Tag Team Battle Royale, which is the main event. We're 46 minutes into the live stream, so maybe this is right. I kind of get lost when I'm in the live stream, but let me know if I passed up anything. I think I've kind of been through everything, but besides the main event, which I'm going to talk about right now. So we lead to the main event, which is none other than the Tag Team Battle Royale, which was a little weird. We had Braun Strowman suddenly come out before the match even started. He doesn't have a tag team partner, so it kind of does make sense. Like, there's been speculation and rumors that they were going to set up a tag team on the versus Sheamus and Cesaro, but they weren't going to be an established tag team. They were going to be a team of two different superstars they were going to put together. I'm pretty sure you've covered everything so far. Yeah, I think I got everything. But then, yeah, so we see Braun take out the whole tag team division. I understand what they're doing with Braun. They're building up Braun. He's flipping trucks, and they're giving Braun this big push. Of course, he's still losing to Brock Lesnar by 1F5, and the only people that have beaten him cleanly, I think, are Roman and Brock, as their push is, I guess, more important than Braun. But the problem I had a little bit with this kind of segment was that they kind of destroyed the whole tag team division. They kind of like buried them. I mean, they're all not in a good state, I mean, the Revival has been looking terrible in the past few weeks. They've been losing matches. The Miz Taraj, have they ever been that great? Titus Worldwide, they haven't been that great either. Sorry if y'all can hear the background. My TV's still on. It's on the USA Network, showing Modern Family. But anyways, yeah, like I said, we got the Club, Luke Gallows and Carlo Anderson. They haven't been looking too great either, so yeah, so that was a little bit of my issue, is that they weren't exactly, I guess, I don't know, they're just getting kind of buried tonight by Strowman as he took them all out. It's a one man against all these tag team. That kind of shows you where the tag team division is on Monday Night Raw. Not a lot of good booking for them, not a lot of established tag teams. Kind of gets you concerned for any tag teams that might be moved up to the main roster. Is it going to be the same thing that happens? That's exactly how I felt. It showed how weak the whole division really is. There aren't any elite tag teams that can compete for the belts, and this kind of exposed, yeah. And it did. It kind of gets me concerned about anyone that's going to be moved up to the main roster, because is that going to be the same fate for, let's say, the Authors of Pain if they bring them up? Is it going to be the same fate for sanity. Just the tag team divisions, and it's kind of the same on SmackDown, man. They really, that's kind of where WWE lacks in their divisions, is the tag teams. Because, like, yeah, we saw tonight, just Strowman destroy through everyone. He won the battle royale, so I'm assuming that means Strowman's gonna get a tag team partner. Because I wouldn't imagine they're gonna go handicap style, right? Because that would be kind of weird. Can you imagine that they have Strowman actually go as a single competitor against the tag team champions, and then he defeats them, and he's up there at WrestleMania holding the two belts, two tag team titles. It's gonna make him look strong, but what does that say about your tag team champions? That they're just weak competitors that can't stand up for themselves against one man, even if he is the monster among men. I think that would be too kind of silly of a push for Strowman, and not exactly where he belongs. I think he does belong in the Universal Championship picture, but I guess they're waiting for Roman and Brock to have this feud at Mania, and then they can go on with Strowman, and they'll push him probably after that once Brock's out of the picture. But yeah, so I don't know. Is Strowman gonna get a tag team partner heading into Mania? Is it gonna be just someone thrown with them? I can't imagine exactly who. Maybe you have any suggestions, chat, about who could possibly be partnered up with Strowman, if anyone. I mean, because it certainly couldn't be Elias, right? Not after what he did to him. Who do you think his partner would be if I had? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who on the Raw roster could be his partner, unless they called someone up, but I don't even know if that would make sense. That's a good question, because I know Elias is the only one that kind of is relative to Strowman as of late, but would it make sense after Strowman, beat him down and dropped the piano on him, for him to be his partner? Unless he I guess in some way beat him to be his partner, beat him up so badly that you can't beat the man, join the man. In some way, I mean, I don't know. I guess I can't just imagine anyone else. I'll think about it though, and who knows, maybe I'll think about it and I'll be like, oh, it makes sense. It all of a sudden makes sense. I completely forgot about so and so. He's his tag team partner. But as of right now, I don't know who could be his partner. Yeah, I got nobody in mind. Again, tonight was, I gotta give tonight a B plus, man, because yeah, it was a lot of storytelling and not exactly so many matches. I think I can fit all the amount of matches on one hand, because it was it started off the show with, we saw Roman Reigns start off the show, but we saw Absolution versus not Absolution. We saw Sonya Deville versus Sasha Banks. There's one. And then we saw Seth versus Finn. There's two. We saw this battle royale. That was three. We saw Nia have a squash match. That was four. I think those were the only we had Mickie James versus Asuka. So there's five matches. They were all very quick matches. A lot of storytelling was tonight. So it is kind of weird for me to give Raw a B plus, because I feel like that's kind of a high grade. But in the end, I did kind of enjoy it a little bit, because there was a lot of storytelling built into WrestleMania, and I feel like Raw not just Raw, but SmackDown had lacked that a lot as of late, leading to WrestleMania. There wasn't a lot of storytelling being built. There's still a lot of questions to be built, or to be answered exactly, because like we were saying, who's Strowman's partner going to be? What does this mean for Braun Strowman? Is Sasha and Bayley going to be a thing at WrestleMania? What is Elias going to do? Is he going to be a part of this Andre the Giant Battle Royale? Are they going to even have one? I'm pretty sure they're going to have one. They have that documentary of Andre the Giant coming out, and I've heard rumors that Goldberg might win that. But yeah, a lot of questions to still be answered. There's, I think, 3 weeks heading towards Mania, or maybe a little less than 3 weeks. But I think there's 3 more Raws before Mania, if I'm correct. 3 or 2. So a couple questions to be answered. I don't know if there's anything else to say. I think I cleared through everything, guys. How long did we go? 54 minutes. Man, I thought it was gonna be a while tonight, because Raw felt like a lot was going on and quick. Okay, the one thing I didn't cover, I completely skipped over this. The Ultimate Deletion match, I completely forgot about this. Uh, they kind of did a lot of building up for Monday Night Raw. You know, we saw that they announced that Asuka and Bliss are gonna have their match on Raw, and then they announced that the Ultimate Deletion is taking place on Raw, which, as of the rumors had stated lately, or not the rumors, but the like the news and stuff. Uh, Apparently, the Ultimate Deletion was filmed already. I think it was filmed on last Thursday, so it's pre-taped at the Hardy compound in North Carolina. So we're gonna see that happen on Monday Night Raw next week. That was announced, but they kind of went through that quick. Like if you had tuned away from the TV for 5 minutes during that segment, you would have missed it. So like I said in the past, they're not really giving Bray and Matt that much time on television, but their Ultimate Deletion match taking place next week on Raw. Yeah, which was pre-filmed, like I said. Was it? I think tonight served its purpose. Here's where the big push begins towards Mania. Yep, there was little talk and story before this, and now tonight laid ground for some feuds and matches. Exactly, man. They put on some good storytelling tonight, but like the same thing when we saw a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, we saw that gauntlet match that was like an hour long. That was interesting to us. It was new to us, but it's not something we want to see every week. So obviously, I think a lot of fans aren't going to want to see the same style of Raw every week, because it gets repetitive, you know. But it was different tonight, and I think that's what caught my attention. I think what they did with a couple of the storylines was interesting. Like I said, with the whole Bliss and Nia thing was different. Whenever Raw does something different and you don't see the same style of matches or the same style of feuds, I think that's when they really captivate their audience and get us all intrigued about what's going to go down. And then it gets us interested to watch either SmackDown tomorrow or the next week of Monday Night Raw. So, good job for WWE writing today, I would say. It had its ups and downs, of course. It'll never be perfect for all the fans to enjoy because there's so many different perspectives on it. But pretty decent show on my end. I give it a B plus. I don't know if it's, like I said in the beginning of the show, guys, sometimes I do the Raw review and I might say something and I might think about it later and I'll say, why did I say something like that on the show? And now I completely disagree with it. So who knows, maybe I say something tonight and I disagree with it, but you gotta understand, Raw just ended. I haven't had that much time to exactly contemplate what happened tonight. So, as Raw's going on, I'm setting up the show. I'm watching and everything, still paying attention to the matches. But, I'm setting up the show. So, it takes some time for me to process everything that went down. But like I said, also, I just want to kind of continue what I was saying in the beginning. The wrestling community, man, it seems like a lot of people in this community are kind of strong opinionated. And not only that, but it seems like everyone's more interested in the hate towards WWE. I don't know. I feel like I might be wrong about that, but I feel like a lot of people go to that because it's easier to talk about. It's easier to bash WWE for having terrible booking and stuff. And I'm not trying to be positive about everything, but I'm trying to come in with a non-biased mindset where, I'm not going in the direction of a smart or a mark, and then I'm also not going too much in the direction of a casual where I'm just accepting everything. I'm not going to obviously just accept everything Raw gives us or SmackDown and WWE in general and just sit down and take it as it comes, because if there's something I disagree on, man, if there's something I find like really dumb to me, I'll say it. I'm not afraid to opinionate myself. I think people enjoy opinions. They don't like just a yes man or someone who's just a political answer. So I'm not trying to be that person either, but I'm trying to be balanced. I just feel like this community likes to bash each other and hate each other, but I'm trying to bring more of a balance of all of it. Still getting used to it though. So I guess that's it for me. I don't know if there's, like I said, anything I missed. I think I covered everything. Once again, yeah, I think that's everything, man. So that's gonna be pretty much it for me for tonight. I want to thank you all, guys, for anyone who tuned in while this was going on. Again, man, Gundam, I appreciate you really a lot for being here and asking some questions and getting the chat kind of going for me. It helps me out, keeps it flowing, so I don't have these dead air times. been trying to avoid that. You know, I feel like a lot of people will get caught off by the show if there's any dead air or anything. I have definitely seen that just browsing through different channels on YouTube. There's a lot of people within the community that love to hate on everything the WWE does. Yeah, there is. You know, I'm not, like I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to take fire at anyone or anything, but that's just something I've seen. So I'm glad to know we got a lot of same opinions, man. Appreciate you again being in the chat. Thank you for anyone who tuned in. Again, guys, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. This is a show I just started recently, the World of Wrestling show. I hope everything's been going well for the show, technical wise, audio wise, everything, because I'm still getting used to this whole live stream. Appreciate again anyone with the support. Hit the subscribe button for more stuff. Monday Raw reviews right after Monday Night Raw. Tuesday SmackDown reviews right after SmackDown. Saturdays I got a show called Showstoppers where we talk. Me and my co-host Nate will go over WWE rumors, reviews, or rumors, news, and predictions. If there's a takeover, we'll do a takeover style video where we'll review takeover. Sundays we'll do pay-per-view reviews. The next big Sunday pay-per-view, obviously WrestleMania 34. We got to do it big on the World of Wrestling show, so I'm preparing for that. Again, if anyone's got any ideas, man, how I can improve the show, I'm open to hearing your opinions. I have definitely seen that just browsing through different channels. Oh yeah, I read the same comment. Actually, I meant to read the other one. A new subscriber, Trickster. Hey man, what's going on? You look like somebody I might know. But maybe you're not. Maybe you're somebody I don't know. But appreciate the new subscription. I'm glad I found your channel. It's a fresh take on pay-per-views and the shows from what I've seen so far. Keep it up, man. You're doing great. Appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. Love it. And appreciate everything you've given me, man. Of course, I will always give it back to you guys, and I appreciate that. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm going to get off of here. It's been another World of Wrestling show Raw review. Thank you all for tuning in. You guys take care.